The Invisible Disabilities Association proudly presents the Invisible Show, the podcast that highlights new technologies and conversations that matter for people living with invisible disabilities. And now join us with our founder and CEO, Wayne Cannell, as he speaks with the folks from allsup.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Wayne Cannell, the founder of the Invisible Disabilities Association, and this is the Invisible Show. We want to welcome today Brett Buchanan from allsup. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to find out, I understand that allsup has a veterans passion, and so I wanted to find a little bit about you and maybe a little bit about allsup and their ability to talk to veterans and their impact on them.
Sure. Well, a little bit about myself. I went to a school up in Missouri, Truman State, and at that time I joined Army ROTC and graduated and went active duty Army, and I was in the Army for about 4.5 years and got out and came back home to St. Louis, Missouri, and then went to law school. When I was in law school, I found out the law had changed and really opened up the window for representation when it comes to veterans. So when I say that, the VA, the Department of Veteran Affairs, administers a disability program for veterans called VA compensation, or a lot of veterans call it service-connected disability. And up to about 2006, that representation was really limited to more a pro bono representation. And the law changed in 2006, 2007, where it opened it up for more paid representation, and which just wasn't available before.
It's in regards to their benefits, right?
Correct.
Not getting benefits?
Correct. So the way it works is the veteran will file a claim with the VA, and the basis of the claim, the way the system works is the veteran says, I have a disability today that I feel is related to my time in service. And that criteria has to be met in order for the claim to be granted. Having a disability alone isn't enough, and being in service isn't enough.
So, I know some veterans, they're actually discharged for disability, and there's different levels of disability.
Correct.
So is this for somebody that their disability was not necessarily, they weren't labeled as disably discharged?
Correct. Yeah, it's the bulk of our veterans that we help are veterans that were in and something happened to them, whether an injury or a disease manifested that went undiagnosed, or an event happened to them that had a delayed effect, whether that's an exposure to a chemical or exposure to trauma. Those are the two big ones. And what happens is the veteran gets out, and 4, 5, 6 years later, they really realize, hey, this is a condition that's not going away. It's getting worse. And my doctors are telling me that I'm going to have this for the rest of my life. And so that's when it kind of, and you got to remember too, a lot of these veterans are young. They go in at 18, 19 years old. If you do 4 years, you're coming out at 22, 23. And the understanding of your body at that time frame of your life is just, you think you're invincible, you think things are going to get better, and you just don't know that what you're dealing with is a chronic disability. So they're filing often years later and trying to say, hey, I have this thing today, and I feel it's related to this thing that happened to me in service.
So you came on board with allsup in what year?
In 2012. I was doing veteran representation before then, and allsup wanted to start a veterans representation group. And so I came aboard and get that group started, and we started taking veterans in our to assist them for representation in middle to late 2012, and really opened up the service in 2013.
So go into a little more details what takes place, right?
Sure.
So a veteran reaches out to you, I would guess, how do they do that? How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. So they can, reach out to us at veterans.allsup.com is our specific kind of website, but allsup.com as well, and through that website and through other referrals, they can get to us. And where we kind of specialize in is the appeal process. Filing new claims is in itself, it's not difficult, but there is a challenge there. But there's plenty of opportunity and services out there that assist veterans getting that initial application in. And from there, there's not much involvement on the veteran's side. The VA is going to process the claim and tell the veteran yes or no. What we deal with is the appeal process, which
When
is
they say no.
correct. So the veteran gets an answer that they're want to disagree with. There's an appeal process within the agency, and it can be very overwhelming and confusing. And so when I started this at allsup, what was happening at that time was a huge backlog was starting to grow. And it was a wave of claims that really started a couple years prior, were getting denied, and now everyone's appealing. And it was really breaking the system.
Well, and the people, right? I mean,
Correct.
think about it. That's the most important
Absolutely.
part of it is that what happens if you're not getting benefits and you need those benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a double whammy because what happens a lot too with VA, VA splits between benefits and healthcare. And so we deal pretty much exclusively with the benefits side and again, the compensation side. But getting benefits established will sometimes open those doors for the healthcare side as well. So when the benefit's getting denied, then unfortunately the VA medical center is maybe not able to accommodate that veteran. Okay, so not only getting the monetary benefit established is helpful, but then now that veteran has access to health care that maybe they didn't previously have. So it's a huge benefit to get that claim granted, to get that appeal granted.
So they get a hold of you, and what's the next step?
So the next steps, they contact us. At that point, what we do is we step in when they've already kind of gotten denied. So we ask them to send us a copy of their decision. And then they talk to me or they talk to someone in my department, and we go through that decision kind of line by line and really find out what that veteran's story is. Because up to this point, quite frankly, no one from the VA has talked to them directly about their claim. And so we'll get the backstory, we'll understand, and with our experience and knowledge, we'll kind of identify where we think it's deficient. And it's usually, a lot of times the VA may not have all the information they need. And so they're just not going to make the proper decision if they don't have it.
Right.
And so we identify that, and then there's an appeal process now that just started this year that we're very excited about, giving us and the veteran different options on the appeal. And but you have to know why it's getting denied in order to know what option to take. And so that's where we feel that this new appeal process is going to be very helpful, but it also adds a bit of a layer of a complication for everybody. Because if you don't know why you're getting denied, then you may not be able to choose the best option for you.
Right.
And every case is different. There is no blanket answer right now for this because, you could get veteran number one could be being denied for one reason, and so this option would better suit him or her. But veteran number two could almost have the same disability, but their denial is for a whole other reason.
Right.
And so option 2 or 3 may be better for them. And so that's why it's very difficult just to give a canned answer on this new appeal system. And our interview and our review of their file is what gives them guidance on how to do that. And so what we do is we file the proper appeals for them. There are optional hearings in this process, and we give a recommendation if we think a hearing is going to be helpful for their case or not. In general, hearings can slow down the process, but if the hearing is going to increase the odds of that case getting granted, then we give that recommendation. We attend the hearing with the veteran, and we continue to submit evidence on their behalf, advocate on their behalf, so that my phrase is so that your next decision is your last decision. It's the one that gets you there.
Right.
Yeah.
So what makes allsup unique on that versus, I know there's attorneys that do similar, I've heard about there. So.
Yeah. So where we're unique is that we represent veterans across the country. So our caseload is across the country, where some representatives may just be kind of constrained geographically.
Right.
We have a lot of resources at collecting information because we do this type similar work on the Social Security disability side as well. So a lot of that infrastructure and process is the same in that sense. And so we have those resources to bring to the table.
That brings a breadth of experience you might not get other places, right?
Correct. Yes. And but at the same time, within the VA department, we do our best to keep it personal. I talk to the clients that I represent directly often because this is a disability system where you need to talk to the veteran, and because they're the subject matter expert
Right.
on this. That's what I tell them. You know,
Right,
I'm
you
like,
gotta believe them,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You were there, I wasn't.
Exactly
You know,
right.
the VA wasn't. You know, the doctor wasn't. You were there, not me, not us. And so, and you really got to pull from them what the crucial details that they may think are not important, and sometimes are. And get that and bring that to the table and present it to the VA so that they understand that the claim needs to be granted.
So what's the time frame? How long does this take? I know this stuff takes a long time. But
It does, and that's a great question, and it's very difficult to answer right now because we have a mixture of things going on. So when I started here at allsup in 2012, these were the averages at that time. New claims were taken on an average of a year. If you appealed it, you were looking at a 2 to 3 year wait to decision maker number 2. If you appealed that decision, you're looking at a 3 to 4 year wait to
My goodness,
decision
what's
maker
that,
number 3.
6 years or something?
You will hear veterans say, my appeal has been pending for 7 to 10 years. And there is a truth to that.
That just breaks my heart.
That's been our biggest challenge. It's just how long it's taken, and not just us. When I say our, the veteran as well. VA knew, Congress knew, everyone knew that the system was unsustainable.
Right.
They passed legislation about 2 years ago. It went into effect early this year, and now we have some new options. VA's goals on these new options are some of the options they want to get done, and we are seeing these results, and we're very happy about this. Some of these options, their goal is 125 days.
Right.
From decision maker to decision maker. That's fantastic. Other goals they have are a year to 2 years. Well, that's a long time. What we've been working with, that's very fast in our world, and we're very excited about that.
So tell me about a success story.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell me a person. I
Sure,
know that's
sure,
okay. But tell me,
sure.
Tell me what it means to a veteran that, oh my goodness, the appeal goes through, and you guys are able to celebrate that.
Correct. Some of our good success stories are these cases where it's it kind of fits with the work you do with the invisible disabilities. A lot of the Vietnam era veterans were exposed to Agent Orange herbicide, okay? And that leads to issues like diabetes, Parkinson's, ischemic heart disease, issues like that, various cancers. And not only that, but a lot of these Vietnam veterans were exposed to combat. So now we're dealing with PTSD
Right.
and other trauma-related psychological disorders. So what happens is that group of veterans, we had some challenges where maybe their service records didn't really reflect that they were in Vietnam. They went there on temporary duty or what have you. And so we've won a good number of cases that show that they were exposed to Agent Orange and that their condition that they have today is related, or that their PTSD is related to their experience in the military as well. Along with that, another batch of cases that I'm very proud of are our military sexual trauma cases.
Right.
Military sexual trauma is an issue in the armed forces, and it's not just females, it's males as well. And in fact, the VA and the Department of Defense have put out just raw numbers. There's a larger number of males that have suffered military sexual trauma than females. And that's partly because the bulk of the military is male. So even though the percentage may be smaller, the overall numbers. And so those are very rewarding
So the
cases.
exciting, right? So the end goal is that these people now actually have an opportunity to get some help,
Absolutely.
some support that they've been having to live with whatever they're dealing with for
Correct.
years.
Correct.
And finally, it sounds like allsup comes along and says, "We believe you." Right? This is what Invisible Disabilities is about.
Yes.
We're about believing the person, like you said. It's not what
Correct.
the doctor says. It's not what these.
Yep.
People, it's like they're the persons that have had to live with it and go through it.
Exactly, and the validation that the veteran gets, when that claim is granted, when the VA says, you know what, there's enough evidence now. We are granting it. This happened to you in the military. Right. You have this today. We're saying the two are related, and we're going to try to get you to a better place. That validation is very rewarding.
So, as we wrap this up,
Mm-hmm.
what would be one or two things you could say to the veteran, right, who's going through this? What would you say that from an encouraging standpoint to them?
So number one would be is don't give up. If it happened to you, we have seen claims get granted when they've been denied before, and there's a number of issues why it may have been denied, but those are usually correctable, or there's VA regulations in place to get you there. Number two is seek help, not just obviously come to allsup and see if we can help you out with your VA claim, VA appeal, but seek help with your medical providers, because these claims are won on medical evidence, and you need to seek treatment with the purpose of getting better, and really try to do your best to advocate for yourself, and that can be challenging, but pull in the family members that you have and the friends that you have to help you with that.
Well, and it sounds like allsup's a great friend as well.
Absolutely.
To come alongside,
Yeah.
I really appreciate, Brett, what you're doing, and obviously it comes out of a passion yourself as a veteran, and I think it's a great impact that you're making. Nothing's worse than being alone,
Right.
and you guys have the opportunity to say you're not alone anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I enjoy it, and this is my career, and I don't see myself doing anything different.
Awesome. So the Invisible No More Show, what an amazing opportunity to showcase great companies that are making a difference in people's lives.